Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Now, I did a video the other day of this Makeup Forever all-in-one palette, and I was so impressed with the way it looked on my skin that I was intrigued to try the next shade up. And I had a bit of birthday money, so I just knew that I would use these. And I thought what would be useful is to do a comparison video. Now, I'm going to tell you who this video is for, first of all, okay? Now, if you've got very fair skin, this isn't going to be a useful video for you. And if you've got very deep skin, this isn't going to be a useful video for you. But if you've got a similar skin tone to me, you're on the medium spectrum, this is going to be a useful video because there is quite a bit of a crossover between these two palettes. And they've got their pluses and minuses. Now, because obviously there's a mixture of different pigments in here, you can kind of mix and match. So it really is going to be about a personal preference. So if you're tuning in and you want to decide, do I get Harmony 1 or Harmony 2? Then this is a really useful video to watch. Now, before I go on, apologies to those of you. I know that there's at least one person who really wanted to get this Harmony 1 palette in the UK. And within the time that it took me, and it was only 24 hours, between filming and putting the video out, this had sold out in the UK. So they're obviously very much in demand. So I'm going to keep an eye out for you guys in the UK. And as soon as it comes back in stock, I will alert you. So anyone that wants alerting, just let me know. I know of one of you anyway, and I will, Stacey, I know Stacey's interested. So I will keep you posted on that. If you're in the US, I believe you can get it from the Makeup Forever website. I don't know about other countries. Now, if you want Harmony 2, they are still available in the UK from Look Fantastic and Guru Makeup Emporium. Okay, so you can still get this from quite a few places. It's just if you want Harmony 1. But I'm going to get on and I'm going to sort of run you through what the palettes do. And then I'm going to take you through some comparisons, all right? Okay, so you all saw my video the other day. So I'm going to start off by showing you this already quite well used Harmony 2 palette. So I'm going to tell you what the formula is on this because I didn't really go into detail the other day. So what you get is these two color correctors first of all. So this one's a kind of orangey shade, as you can see, and this one is a kind of neutralizing shade. Now it's got a touch of green in it, as it has the lighter shade, so it's going to take down redness. This one's going to take down under eye dark circles and pigmentation. Then you've got two concealers. So these are your kind of brightening shades. They're going to be slightly lighter than your foundation. Okay, and then you've got three foundation shades. 1, 2, and 3. Now this is the reason that I wanted to get this. As you can see, I do feel sorry for anybody that is of Afro-Caribbean complexion because I don't know how they dare call this tan to deep. These shades are still very fair for somebody who's a tan to deep complexion, although what you can do is use these bronze and contour shades. And I'm going to get onto these in a minute because they have got some advantages over Harmony 1. Then you've got the two blush shades, a more pinky one, and this isn't as peachy as the other one. It's kind of a more neutral brick type shade. And then you've got this highlighter, which is really beautiful gold, and it's going to show up on more medium to tan complexions. I mean, the lighter one will show up as well, but this one's going to have a bit more of a warm undertone to it, okay? So that's how both of these work. Now let's switch over to Harmony 1. Okay, so here is Harmony 1. And as you can see, also been very well used, particularly this shade, which is the darkest of the foundation. So again, you've got your two correcting shades. And as I said, this one I thought was yellow, but when I put it on the skin, it's got a slight green tint to it. Then you've got your two concealer shades. Then you've got your three foundation shades. Now you can see this one's very light. This one is still pretty light, but not too bad. And then this one, which actually was the closest match to my skin tone, but still looked a little pale on me. Okay, and then we've got the kind of bronzer contour shades. Now, if you remember, I said that I was a bit disappointed because even the more neutral shade still looked quite warm. And that's the advantage over the other one, which you're going to see in a minute, because even though they're a lot darker, there is one true contour shade. Then you've got your pink and your peach blush, and then your highlighter. Okay, now I'm going to take you through the swatches of both so that you can have a look at them, and I'm going to put that here. Okay, so you see the both swatches together, but it doesn't really help you. So what I thought would be really useful is to break it down a little bit more. So I'm going to do some swatch comparisons of the concealers, then the foundations, then the blushes, and then the sort of colour contour type shades and the highlighter shades, so that you can see those broken down next to one another. And that's really going to help you to choose between which palette you want to get. Okay? Okay, so let's start off with the colour correcting shades. So this is the lighter version, Harmony 1. And as you can see, this is a very sort of light peachy shade, which is very good for minimising under eye dark circles and pigmentation. Then if you look at the darker palette, it's very, very orange. Now, that kind of very bright orange is definitely better for very deep skin tones, okay? But it doesn't necessarily rule it out if you've got a medium skin tone. Now, when I was going to the Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Foundation launch, I was given shade 3 in the under eye corrector, which was more akin to this shade here. And I found it too dark. And then I bought shade 2, which was more like this one. And I said they really need a 2.5. I used to buy a Becca under eye corrector. And I would say that really when it comes to correcting under eye darkness and pigmentation, I am actually somewhere in between the two. And what I found is that if I take this light colour here, this lighter concealer, and I put that on the back of my hand, and then I mix it with some of this orange, I actually get a far better shade for me than I do if I go for the lighter shade. So this is where the versatility of the palette becomes a little bit more bespoke. That is too light as a colour corrector. That is more peachy, but not quite as dark orange. Okay, so you can see that that's not necessarily going to be a bad thing if you get the darker colour corrector. The other thing is that my sister put this on. She bought this palette as well, put this on as a lipstick, and it looks beautiful. And of course, you could always use it as a pop of an orange blush. So don't forget, these are all the same formula. The only reason they call them blushes, highlight. Obviously, the highlighter's got shimmer in it. But the only reason these are called concealers and foundations is because of the shades. It doesn't mean you can't use them for other things because they're the same HD formula. Okay, so again, it gives you that option of mixing, and it also gives you the option of using this as a really nice lipstick. I'm going to put this on and I'll show you what it looks like as a lipstick. There you go. It actually looked better on my sister than me, but this is the thing. You can mix it up. You can mix it up with a bit of your blush like this, and I can just mix up and add another slight tone to tone it down and make it look a different colour. That's what I love about this palette, is you can play with it so much. Okay, so then you've got the two sort of colour correctors. So let me, first of all, I'm going to put a swatch of the two orangey peachy colour correctors. And actually, no, I'm going to do them both so that you can see. And then I'm going to just show you these. Now, this is the darker one. And actually, this is more of a bright yellow. Okay. Now, if I show you the other one on the lighter palette, this has got more of a green tinge to it. But yellow is still a useful colour corrector to have. And again, you can mix them up. So I'm going to just do you a swatch of both the colour correctors from each palette and put them here so that you can compare the two. Okay, now let's get on to the two concealers. Now, from the two concealers, you will see, if I show you first of all, Harmony 1, and let's hold it up next to Harmony 2, you can see they're actually all pretty light. Those are, it's in the middle ones there. They're actually all pretty light. So I'm now going to do you a swatch comparison so you can see, but you've got a really light option in both. So this is what I mean about if you're a medium tone, you could actually, in a lot of these shades, opt for either. So I'll show you the swatches of those next. So I think you can see from the two concealers there, the lightest one of the two is pretty light in both palettes. In fact, they're the same depth of colour. What I would say is in the lighter palette, it's got a slightly pinker undertone. And in the darker palette, it's got more of a yellow undertone. So it's kind of, if you're looking at matte, this would be your kind of, I would say, like an NC 25. And this would be like an NW 15. But there's the same depth of colour, and I cannot see how a really deep skin tone would be able to use that colour at all on this one, which is supposed to be for tan skin tones. Now, obviously, this one, which is again Harmony 2 for the tan to deep, this one's quite a bit darker than the other one, but again, still workable if you're mixing them together. So it kind of, it will all come down, I think, as we move on to the blush shades, the highlighter shade, and personal preference. So let's move on next to the foundation shades. So there's 3 foundation shades. I'm going to swatch them here, and then we'll talk about comparisons. So you will see, obviously, the second and third foundation shades in the two palettes, there is quite a big difference in shade. But if you look at the first shade of the first and second shades in Harmony 1 and compare it with the lightest shade in Harmony 2, there isn't a lot of difference. And again, if you're looking to mix a bespoke foundation shade to your skin tone, then you can free up. Now, the other thing I've noticed is with Harmony 1, they tend to be a bit more for cool undertones. So all the foundation shades and the concealer shades, I've got a more pinky undertone for cool undertones. Whereas the Harmony 2 palettes are more warm undertones. So if you are like me on the kind of cusp between the two, that might help you to decide a little bit more if in terms of your undertone. If you've got more of a warm undertone, you can still mix and match bespoke to you, but use Harmony 2. And if you've got a cooler undertone, mix and match to Harmony 1. Okay? Obviously, if you're very cool, very light alabaster kind of complexion, you need to go for Harmony 1, as I said at the beginning. I'm talking about people on the medium skin tone that actually might suit either. Right, so we're going to move on now to the kind of bronzing contouring shades. Okay, and I'm going to swatch them for you here because I've got a bit to say about these. Okay, so as you can see, there's actually not that much of a difference in the tone of the bronzer dash contour. Now, I actually prefer the two in the deeper palette, the Harmony 2 palette. I'm just going to show you here because it probably looks a little bit more obvious from the swatches. Yes, this one's a little bit lighter, but not by much. Now, what I didn't like about this set is that they're both quite warm. Yes, this is a bit more neutral, but it's still quite warm for a contour shade. Now, what I love about this is even though it's the darkest shade of all, it's actually got quite a neutral, cool undertone to it and is far better for mimicking a shadow of a contour than using one of these shades up here. So I actually, of the sets, I prefer Harmony 2 because I've got a good bronzing shade and I've got a good contour shade. And don't forget with contour shades, I've seen people like Sophia Tilbury, who I would say is quite fair, using the dark contour wand in Charlotte Tilbury. And really, as long as you blend it out, it doesn't really matter too much if you use a darker contour. I don't think, in my opinion. Other people may differ in their opinion, but I don't think it matters as long as you blend it well and obviously don't put too much on. You're just putting it in that hollow and you want to mimic the shadow. And I personally am not a fan of a contouring using bronzer shades because to me they don't look like shadows. It looks fake, and I think you're going to get more of a realistic contour out of that darker shade in this palette than you are with either of these shades in Harmony 1. Okay, let's move on to the blushes now, and I'm going to first put up obviously the swatches and then we'll discuss. Okay, now pluses and minuses. With the Harmony 1 palette, I think they're very fair blushes and they really are more for very light skin tones than medium skin tones. Hardly showed up on me. The other thing is because they're quite fair, it doesn't leave you with the option of using them as a lipstick. I'm going to show you the Harmony 2 palette, which you can use as a lipstick. They show up a lot more on medium skin tones. So now, the only thing I would say about the good thing about Harmony One is you've got a peach shade and you've got a pink shade, and there is quite a difference between the two shades. I didn't find that there was as much of a difference in the shades in Harmony 2 palette, but as I said, they're a lot more pigmented. I wouldn't say pigmented, but they're a lot darker, and so it gives you the option of, if you're medium skin toned, of using them as a lipstick as well as a blush. I'm just going to take this orange off because it really doesn't suit me. Really suited my sister though, and I'm going to show you one of the blushes on my lips. Okay, so that's the darker shade of blush on my lips. Just gives you another option as an all-in-one palette, doesn't it? So that is definitely the advantage of getting Harmony 2 over Harmony 1. But as I said, the colours are just not, there's not quite as much difference between the colours, I don't think, as there is between the two in the lighter palette. Okay, now let's move on to the highlighters, because this is the final icing on the cake. So if you've not yet decided which palette you want to get, Harmony 1 or Harmony 2, then if you're a highlighter girl, this hopefully is going to help you to decide. Okay, so you've just seen the highlighters. Now, highlighter, you've got one champagne and you've got one gold colour. Now, these are going to show up whatever your skin tone is, and it really is a matter of preference. But it also accentuates what I've been saying all along, is that Harmony 1, which is here, is more of a cool toned palette, and Harmony 2 is more of a warm toned palette. And I think that is going to really help you to decide cool tone, warm tone. So you've got a lovely gold here, which is going to show up just as well, and then this champagne colour. So I hope that's helped you to decide. I personally don't regret getting both of these palettes, because I'm going to put both of them in my makeup bag, and it's going to help me to mix and match. And certainly when it gets to summer and I need to go deeper, I've just got more options. But they are very expensive, and I understand that you might want to pick between one or two. I think they look beautiful on the skin. The foundation looks beautiful on the skin. It's just a bit of a bore that this one in the UK seems to be permanently out of stock, and when it comes in stock, it's snapped up really quickly. So if you do see this in stock in the UK, I wouldn't waste any time considering it. I'd snap it up. I'm certainly glad that I did. If you want to get Harmony 2, you will find that's far more available in the UK. And if you're in the US, you're very lucky, because you'll be able to get it. Makeup Forever is based in the US, and no doubt you can get it in Sephora, in the department store there. I hope this has been helpful, but if you've got any other questions about the palette or the palettes, please do let me know. I am going to try out some Makeup Forever powder, because this has really attracted me to the base products of this brand. I'd never had a Makeup Forever foundation, and I love the way it makes my skin look. Do catch me soon, and I'll see you all very soon. Take care. Love you all. Mwah!